I feel like the old-fashioned PA systems in like high schools when they would have like the dude like good morning everybody like welcome to the Agents of Helm.
You know what? I'm gonna put something in for that now. Now I'm gonna intro our show that way.
I think McKenna should do a different ukulele song every single show.
No.
I'm gonna.
What you should do is you just sing Taylor's intro, but with the ukulele.
Oh my god!
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Does anybody need to get anything to drink, anything like that before we get started?
No, let's.
And I got it already.
All right, cool. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome once again to the Agents of Helm, where entertainment is our mission and we get the job done without any bloodshed. Well, maybe just a little bit of bloodshed. So, just like every other episode of AOH, each agent gets a chance to moderate an episode. And for tonight's episode, my episode, Malik's episode, we are doing a very special AOH at the Movies show. Normally, we review recently released films and we tell you what we think about them as a group. Well, this time, the agents had to review our own choice films. Yeah, I gave everybody an opportunity to select one or two in McKenna's example, choice selections that they themselves wanted to bring to the table of the rest of the agents. So we watched these films over a couple of weeks, spent some time reviewing them, and now we're going to give this. And today's show is the AOH review agent style. So hopefully, when you guys come out of this, you'll be able to come out of this episode with a few movies that maybe you haven't seen that you can get an opportunity to watch, and also just some more insight about how we like to look at films and the type of thoughts that we have. So to get started off, we're going to start with McKenna. Well, let me back up. So for tonight's episode, we actually have everybody on board. We have McKenna.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, we have Johanna.
Let's fake some geographical coordinates.
And last but not least, of course, we have Joe.
What's up, people?
So we're gonna start out with you, McKenna. Why don't you give us a quick intro? Tell us what your movies were, and tell us what they were about. Just a quick overview, and then we will start jumping in with the review.
Okay. So the two movies that I actually chose two short films because I always have to do that, right? I can't just abide by the rules. It's just me. So I chose.
You're the young rebel of the group. That's what it is. Like you're the young rebel.
I'm the young rebel.
Upstart.
Again, upstart. What are we? 4 minutes into this recording, and it already comes up that I'm younger than everybody.
Well, I think it stands for you're the rebel. Like so it goes in. We ask for one movie, you give us two movies. You know what I mean? Like we ask for some intro music, you do a ukulele solo. You know what I mean? Like these are the types of things that you do that kind of spice things up a little bit.
Like a 13-year-old bitch of a kid.
You're like a very, 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 very cool Zoe Deschanel.
Okay, sure. I'm a quirky girl.
Oh, that's an awesome comparison. I like that. I'm a huge fan of New Girl. So.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Okay, so the two short films that I chose, should I talk about? No, I'm not going to talk about the other one because that's coming. But
I would say do some background on like why you chose this film, like things like that, like where you got them from and why you chose the film.
Okay, so the first film that I chose is a film called Alma, and I actually found Alma, God, a while ago. I think I was in high school, and I used to use this internet browsing tool called Stumble. I actually don't even know if it still works, but Stumble was this tool where you would hit a button and it would just take you to a random website.
Oh yeah, my husband uses that still.
I used Stumble all the time, and I found some really great stuff that I've used in shows and portfolios and stuff like that. Anyway, I ended up stumbling on this short film called Alma. And it really struck me. I was really, I don't know what it is about it, but I ended up doing more research on it, and I believe that they're in the works, or were in the works, and now it's on hold, to make it a feature-length film. So I asked everybody to watch that, and I have a little bit more information about the talkings of making it into a feature-length film. And then the second chose was, or is another short film, animated short film called Fallen Art. And I was actually shown Fallen Art by one of my professors in college. We were talking about it in a class called Politics, Performance, and Power. And it worked really nicely with some of the agenda items that we were talking about, and it's very compelling, and it just stuck with me. So when I was doing research on Alma, I started thinking about other short films that I had seen, and Fallen Art came to mind. So that's where I found both of these. Malik, do you want me to just kind of describe what they are about? Or are we kind of go into that when we talk about it?
So I think we'll go into that as we talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So, thanks for introing them at the very least. So I would say that both of them. While I would say the first thing that I said, the first thing that I saw I'll just kick in with my review. You guys can jump in whenever you want, Joe and Johanna. So the first thing I say with what I noticed out of the bat was, wow, the animation in these both was really, really impressive. I mean, I was very much neither one of these companies was like Pixar or anything along those lines that I would have known off the bat, but still, I was very impressed by how well the animation was done on both of those. So even before the content, just the display of everything just looked really, really good and really, really crisp. So that really jumped out to me first.
Yeah, the animation was, I mean, that's definitely the first thing that grabs you, and then also the content is awesome, and it was really disturbing, and I was here for it. I can't decide which one was more disturbing and or my favorite, and probably disturbing and favorite. Alma was like fucking nightmare fuel. Like, can you imagine going into a shop, seeing your fucking doll, and becoming the doll and being stuck there forever? And also watching other kids get turned to dolls.
Well, that's what I was saying to Joe. It's like your standard cautionary tale. Like Grimm Brothers tale.
Yeah, my question is, where was the kid's parents? Why is that kid walking around the street by herself? That's number one.
Yeah.
You know, don't go into strange places.
That happens. That's how I grew up.
You grew up that way, McKenna, just walking around the neighborhoods by yourself at like 6?
The neighborhood's in town. Oh yeah. We would my brother and I would jump on our scooters, and my mom wouldn't see us until it got dark.
That kid was like 5.
I mean, you must have grew up in a very nice neighborhood in California. That's the only way to describe it. My parents wouldn't let me leave the block without somebody watching.
Yeah, same here.
Oh.
Those places exist where kids could be around on their own.
So I mean, full disclosure, Alma scared the shit out of me. That movie, that 5-minute show, I've watched it about 3 times thus far, and that 5-minute short. Well, first off, I mean, I have, and then Joe might know this already. I actually already have a fear of like those life-size dolls. I don't like those things at all.
So, porcelain dolls.
Yeah, the porcelain doll, like the American Girl dolls, all that stuff. Like that stuff really just creeps me the hell out. So, like just when the Alma character, after writing his or her name, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, I can't tell. I assume it's a girl, but the clothing kind of made it kind of unisex, the clothing that she was wearing. But like the minute that she turns around and sees like the doll of herself, and like is looking at it, and she's not sure what to make of it, but she's really, really intrigued by it. And then she turns away for like a brief second and turns back and looks again, and the doll's gone. Like that moment right there, I was like, run, get the hell out of there, just get the hell out of there. just run. There is no good that can come from this situation. And of course, a child's curiosity gets her to go completely in, and basically, um, you know, her fate is sealed. Her fate's sealed the moment that she tries to open the door, because I guess the store knows that we've got you, you know.
Uh-huh.
And the other part about like the the little doll that's riding the bike, that's like, I mean, you could tell once she puts him, like, yeah, she's really creepy, but like once she puts him up, like he's pedaling, like she sees him pedaling, and but then once she puts him upright, he starts pedaling like his fucking legs were gonna fall off. Like he is trying to get out of that shop whatever possible way he can, because he knows that door is open. It's still open, just enough so maybe he could get out. And he is trying his ass off. I felt so bad for him. I felt bad for him. I felt worse for him than I did for the child. Because I was like, damn it, he just wants to get the hell out of there. He doesn't even know what's outside. He has no clue, but he just needs to get I don't know how long he's been there.
Well, and how creepy is it that he keeps like running into the door, because it's almost like he's like, no, 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 like. Yeah, it's really. Oh, and you know what gets me too every time? I remember very, very specifically the first time I watched that short. At the end, when she does get sucked into the body of the doll, that noise of the eyes moving around.
Yes.
I actually, this is going to be kind of weird. I actually had a lot of porcelain dolls when I was a kid, and I didn't, they weren't mine, they were my great aunt's. So every time that I would go stay at my grandparents' house, my great aunt's porcelain dolls were like all over the house, and I would play with them. I would like take them around with me, and they were those weird dolls where like when you laid them down, the eyes closed. They were the weighted like eyes, and when you picked them up, the eyes open. And that noise that they got in Alma when her eyes are moving around, it's the perfect noise. That's exactly what those sounds opening and closing. Ugh.
Also, something interesting about the name, Alma means soul in Spanish.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when I saw Alma and I saw that poor child going into that doll thing, I'm like, they're either gonna come alive and kill her, or she's gonna something terrible is gonna happen to this child.
It's the Devil's Dollhouse, McKenna. The Devil's Dollhouse. The Devil's in there. Created as soon as they took Alma, another doll popped up to bring in the next name. See, you saw all the names on the board.
On the wall.
Yeah, on the wall. Yeah, all the kids wrote their name there for whatever reason. Seems like before they got taken.
Mm. So I was saying, I had done some research, and I guess that I don't know if it's still in talks or what the latest news is, but at one point DreamWorks was gonna make it a feature-length film, and Guillermo del Toro.
Hell yeah!
Gonna be part of the project. I think he was producing it.
Yeah.
Or directing it. I don't remember.
I'd probably stay far away from that. Like that 5 minutes alone was like, I wouldn't even watch that with my daughter. Like I was sitting there like, dude, this doesn't even feel right. The one thing I wanted to see, I wish they would have panned away, and I think that would have been really creepy too, is if they would have panned, like where they're panning away from the store. The store itself, when you look at the store from like that across the street, view, it actually looks like a face. Right, it looks like it's got the two eyes and then the large mouth where the doll is, where the doll is, right? So it actually looks like a face, like it's like they're like. So I mean, to Johanna's point, like it's eating the souls of the children. Because I'm thinking like, okay, well, where does the body go, right? So obviously there's a body somewhere. The child's body has to be somewhere if the soul has now been taken. Where does the child's body go? But what I was really wanted to see was like if there were like a bunch of like child missing posters or something like that would have been really, really interesting to have seen, because obviously I mean, maybe the parents just don't give a shit, but
Clearly, they let the
in
kid
this
wander off by himself.
in this town. But I'm assuming that there's like 60 dolls in there, so I'm assuming that somebody is aware of what's going on and has some somebody's looking for these kids somewhere. It's got to be.
Maybe.
Joe,
I think the town is sacrificing those kids. He's got to make a sacrifice to the doll store,
To the doll store.
the devil doll store.
The doll store is like hungry. Like that is a face of hunger.
Yeah, it was definitely really disturbing. And it's kind of like a Venus flytrap because it puts the little doll right in the front, so it kind of it draws the kid to it. Oh man, that was crazy. Joe, let's start with you as far as the next film. Was it Fallen Art?
Fallen Art. Just like the animation was on point in this one. Actually, I thought it was a little. It's more recent, so I thought it was a little bit better animation in Fallen Art than in the previous one, Alma. And also, in true McKenna form, it's pretty sick.
Real quick, I don't know if we want to cut this on the record, but Joe, you were complaining that the other short film that I had you watch was too lovey-dovey and adorable. And
No, but yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about that one because we're gonna talk about it another day. But I would list out my reasons for that as well. But anyway, yeah, I mean, basically, Fallen Art is a short where this big soldier is tossing little soldiers off a cliff, and it's supposed to be the good of whatever. Tossing these, giving them a medal first, and then tossing them off. Say thank you for your service, goodbye, and tossing them off a cliff, and watching them splatter, and then taking a picture, all for the benefit of whoever I guess he's the big boss, the guy in charge, for his benefit, so he can put these pictures through a projector and dance to them, basically.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was funny. I did think that there were some parts of it were funny. I was just wondering. One thing I was wondering, like, how did they keep getting these guys? All these guys look exactly the same. Are they just cloning this one? They're cloning like one dude, and they just keep cloning him over and over and over again. Because it wasn't like when you looked at the number of reels that he had, obviously the number of pictures that he had to show all the different people that they killed. It looked like it was all the same guy, right? Over and over and over again. And even like that little scene at the very, very end when it's all over, and he's ready to push the next guy off. That guy looks the same like the guy that just fell. So I was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, how the hell are they getting like these a bunch of guys that look exactly the same? A bunch of Gomer Piles that look exactly the same.
I was gonna say Dilberts, but yeah, Dilberts.
I think it was symbolic of just the way that the military tends to like standardize and everything, and how everything has to be the exact same way.
Yeah.
And how that actually, I mean, that makes it easier to control people and to get them to do things that they might not normally do, like, stand on a plank.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
the guy tossing him off was military, and he looked like 3 times the size as
well, because he's
in
like
charge.
He's like a general, that's why.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's feel like all these soldiers dying for nothing,
Or
They died for nothing. They died for art.
They die for the cause that they don't even know what the cause is.
Right.
And then the cause ends. They're so detached. They're just told, okay, it's your time. Here's the medal for your bravery. Now go. They don't realize that all that they're doing is having a picture of their dead body taken and added to some person's personal art project. So it's just they're that removed from the cause that they don't know what. I think that the whole thing is a metaphor for these people that we're sending off to die don't know what they're dying for. For all they know, their bodies are being used in a very bizarre Congo art piece.
Yeah, it's really great. So, no, that's definitely that's an eerie connection to make.
And I love, like, going back to what we were talking about with the animation, something that I really love about this piece is that they make the soldiers look so uniform, like you were saying, Malik, and then the characters that are apart from the soldiers, so the general that's pushing them off, the scientist who's taking the pictures, and the creator, the man who's making the film. They're like these like very detailed, like overly grotesque looking individuals, like almost like video game like. They kind of look like these otherworldly like trolls.
Yeah.
And I love that they made a distinction between the one who's losing their life for no reason and the ones who are controlling that through the animation. I love that.
Yeah, they definitely take an opportunity to point out, who's who. The one question I had when looking at this though, is so after the first guy gets thrown off the plank, if you're one of the other soldiers that's still sitting up there, why the fuck are you still sitting there? Like nobody's telling me I can't go back down these damn steps and go to hell wherever the hell I need to be, because clearly, if there's 5 of us up here and he just gave this dude a medal and pushed him off the plank, what the hell do you think's gonna happen to the other 4 of us? Like that didn't seem to make any sense to me.
Does it make sense in war?
That's why I'm not. Yeah. I mean,
anyway.
yeah. No, I agree. Johanna, what was your take on Fallen Art?
First of all, I loved it. It was as disturbing as I like my favorite disturbing things to be. It was just so interesting to me. Just it's really grotesque, but I think to a certain extent it's very true in terms of the military, and I think there's something in there about how the military is used as like publicity almost. Like there's a lot of like human interest stories that come out of the military that are, kind of like the way that they're molded. For the media, it's like they're packaged in a way that's sort of very similar. I mean, the same sort of propaganda was happening in World War II. They'd do little reels on our boys on the front, and that was sort of, kind of the first line of propaganda. To a very large extent, was the soldiers. The soldiers were they were fighting the war, and then they were also kind of raising morale on the home front, so that people felt that, they didn't, not that they didn't feel so bad about sending people to war, but more like they felt like it was for a purpose. But this like kind of spins that idea on its head. Yes, these soldiers are being used as sort of not really propaganda, but they are being used to represent something, but it's completely meaningless. And it's a wonder. I guess like those reels only belong to that one man. I guess you're wondering, why does that man do it? I would have, maybe those reels do go out somewhere. It actually reminds me of Malik, you saw that episode of Dark Mirror, right?
Yeah, yes, I did.
The performance art?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the performance art where this performance artist like kidnaps somebody and says like, if the prime minister doesn't have sex with the pig, I'm gonna kill the daughter of the king or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this performance art based on something really fucking gruesome, and then at the end, it's completely meaningless. I won't spoil anything, but it is for absolutely no fucking reason. So I think that, you know, there's a lot of, you know, voyeurism reality shows. I mean, you can talk about a lot of things that kind of have this, like, people sacrificing themselves or being sacrificed against their will for this weird idea of, like, not even art, but, like, propaganda or sending a message.
Mhm.
And it's really totally meaningless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in its own way, this little 6-minute short, it tells a lot about war, just about war efforts. I think definitely it, just by putting these characters in military outfits, it tells you something right away. You know, they could have done this with anybody, and I do liken it to a cultish.
Yeah.
Cultist connection, because you know, in a lot of cults we see people just kind of blindly leading or blindly following a leader who is sending them, you know, who's clearly sending them to either their deaths or just, you know, a horrible existence, and they're just blindly going with it without having any real explanation as to why they should be or why they are doing it. And it's interesting because it's like this short kind of felt like it felt like it would have been a skit in Family Guy. That's the other part. That's the other thing that kind of jumped out at me. It felt like this would have been something in Family Guy, and it would have been like Peter Griffin in the Inside Dancing to the Dead Bodies. Like that's where it seemed like it fit.
Well, and it's weird like that because, like, yes, after you watch it, you go, "Oh my God, that was so awful." But then when you're watching it, you're like, I mean, am I the only one that's kind of like dancing? Like, yeah, like this is cool.
I know. It's like, this is
You
some
know, and so then by the end you go, whoa, what was I dancing to? You know what I mean?
I think you were the only one.
Okay.
Or maybe you and Johanna, because Johanna's obsessed with death.
Ah! These were most pleasing shorts for me.
Well, next time I'll pick something a little lighter for the men.
No,
The men folks.
Fine, you know.
this worked for me. Well, I think we'll stick with a little bit of the dark stuff, and we'll move on next to Johanna. So Johanna selected a movie for us that I know, you know, none of us had ever seen before, and I didn't I didn't isolate it to, you know, big budget blockbuster films or even fictional stuff. Like I wanted you guys to be as open as possible, and I'm glad that Johanna took the opportunity to select a documentary here to kind of teach us a little bit, show us a little bit about, you know, things that may have happened in our history that we weren't aware of, and also you know, give us some other messages about, like, you know, what the psyche of man. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. So Johanna, without further ado, I you know, go ahead and intro your film and why you chose it. Johanna, did we lose you?
Her picture's still here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hold on, something happened to my... Let me try this again. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the film that I chose is it's called Deepwater. It's the film that I picked. Deepwater. Deepwater? Dark
Yes.
Water?
Yeah, that's
Deepwater.
it. If the film you chose is Deepwater, Johanna, yes.
I'm sorry, you guys. It's so confusing. So, it's not a very well-known movie at all. It is a documentary about this race around the world, this yacht race around the world that was sponsored by a newspaper in England. And so, you know, you get these very short, ribbing profiles about these, you know, hard men who have been to the sea before, and, you know, there's a French guy, and the French guy's very like, the ocean is so wonderful, yes. And they all really have experience. And then at the end, there's this guy named Donald Crowhurst, and he, like, has no fucking experience. He's just like, I'm going to build a boat and go around the world, and I'm going to mortgage my house, and, you know, if I don't, you know, win this or get some sort of money, then I'm kind of fucked, and so is my wife and my 3 kids. So
Four kids.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna
shit.
say more than 3 kids.
Yeah, like, basically he was kind of a deadbeat. deadbeat father. So he's like, I'm gonna build this boat, and it's like fucked up, and he leaves at the like totally worst time that he could have left England, and everyone else is gone. And as you can imagine, he's a total failure in life doing this, and to the point where there are several acts of deception. I don't know how much to like say before you guys like talk about it, but like he basically like lies about a lot of things to the judges while he's doing his thing, and he eventually just goes insane and kills himself. They assume he killed himself, but it's pretty clear that he killed himself. His boat didn't capsize or anything. He killed himself. And then also, like, once in a while, you get, like, little snippets about the people who are, like, actual sailors, like the French guy. And, like, what I love about the French guy is he does end up circumnavigating the world, and then he's like, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to go to Tahiti.
He went kind of crazy.
He did, but not as crazy as Crowhurst.
Not as crazy as Crowhurst, but he went a little batty.
He did. He decided just not to ever go back. I'm sure he went back to England, but he was just like, I'm good. I don't need money. I'm just gonna go to Tahiti.
He did end up going back, but he went back like he went around halfway. Stopped in Tahiti, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was kind of just like, I'm just gonna keep going. But, yeah, I'll open the.
He didn't want the crowds. He liked being alone.
He liked the solitary ocean, and he talked about a lot, and because they have like real footage of the folks on the boats, and he's very much like the solitude of the ocean. And meanwhile, Crowhurst is just like he's like really trying to keep like a stiff upper lip, and it's obvious he's out of his depth. But I'm gonna open it up to you guys. Joe, what did you think of the film?
I enjoyed it. I found myself rooting for Crowhurst in the beginning, before he loses his mind. I was like, man, I hope this guy wins. He seemed like I know he did some irresponsible things like mortgaging his house, taking the loan from these guys, and hooking up with the newspaper people, and doing all that stuff. Deciding to build his own boat with 3 hulls on it. Because he thought he was just so smart, an engineer using electronics. He had all the gear, he just didn't know how to sail. So, in the sailing competition, I'm guessing that's pretty important. He was what they call, I believe they called him a weekend sailor. Isn't that what he did all the time?
What they said. He was a bit of a weekend sailor.
He's a weekend sailor. He didn't do this all the time like the French guy. Was it Montessier or something like that? And the guy who actually ends up, winning, Knox Johnston. These guys were experienced sailors. They did it for like a living. This guy didn't do that, and he thought he was smarter than all of them. He was going to build this boat that enabled him to move faster and all that stuff. And you know what? For all the deception he made, he actually picked up a lot of ground. Granted, he did stop to get his boat fixed because, his boat was falling apart within the first few months, the first 2 weeks, and then, subsequently over the months, the boat started to fall apart. He did pull over. I believe it was illegal for him to pull over and fix it, correct?
Yeah. It had to be a continuous journey.
Yeah.
Oh, he did also.
But, if that was the only lie he told, I think that would have been, who's going to know? He would have known.
Right.
But he ended up being ahead of where he actually started faking where he was. First, he put himself ahead of where he actually was, and then he had to start putting himself behind where he actually was. It was kind of ridiculous. He was going to win this thing.
Yeah, but if he won, they were seriously going to investigate
they were going to check his logs, but, they would have checked the logs and all that stuff. Clearly, the guy committed suicide, or maybe he just ran off. I mean, maybe he's living on Cayman, Cayman Cray. What's it called? The island that they found the boat on.
Well, they didn't
Uh,
find the boat there. They found the boat floating in the water,
right.
and then they took it to whatever island.
Yeah,
You know, it
Cayman,
was, yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, it's there now. I mean, I hate these kind of mystery things. I mean, it's not so much a mystery. I mean, clearly the guy's dead. He probably just jumped into the water, I guess.
Yeah.
The body was never found. But, yeah, I mean, he could have, I mean, if it wasn't for the guy in front of him uh, sinking, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But he had the misfortune of the guy in front of him sinking. And it kind of ruined everything from there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this for me, I felt really. I was really conflicted about this film just because not like I didn't like it or anything like that. I actually really liked it a lot. It really talks to like not only one like just the psyche of a human being and like how silence can be maddening and how although on the open water it seems like it's the best way to find yourself, it's also it also can be a prison as well, and it can seem like a prison to the person that's on the boat, like a single man sailing mission, and how much pressure it puts on the individual. But it like really drives home a lot of distinct things about not just being a human being, and not just being a man, but also being a human being, like fear, like the fear of failure. Like his fear of failure not only drove him to do this, but drove him to basically take on a suicide mission. Basically, there was moments during his mission where he could have stopped, right? He could have said like, I'm done. I am not, whatever has happened has happened. I accept the loss. I take the loss on this one, and I just go back to my normal life of a husband and father and whatever he was doing for a living. And he chooses to continue to do that. And the only thing I could think of is his fear of failure, is his fear of being recognized as a failure. And like, this one opportunity, this one chance for him to make a name for himself and to be famous and to be recognized. And like, not only this fear of failure, but just a not accepting his own existence, right? Like, it wasn't enough for him to be a father of 4 or 5 kids, however many kids he had, and a husband. Like, it wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for him to be that. He had to be more, and I think so many people are obsessed with the need to want to be more than they are. And I mean, that feeds into like what we see now with like reality television and all of these people who are like putting their lives on screen and basically putting themselves out there in ways that could absolutely be detrimental to their professional and personal lives years down the road. But they're doing it so that they can get that little 15 minutes, so that they can get that 100,000 people on Twitter, or they can get that, those million followers on, Instagram or whatever. And this in 1968, this was that version of that, right? In order to get that fame and that fortune and that, those accolades, he needed to do something crazy, something that, really stood out. And so I felt really bad for the guy, because he believed that he needed to do that in order to be accepted. And then of course when he goes crazy, I'm completely not shocked about that, because I can only imagine what that must feel like, being on the open water, and looking out into the abyss of the world and realizing, one, just how small you are and just how small everything is. And then like as time goes by, you're just disconnecting yourself further from the reality, from the world around you. So it really, this film really did a lot for me as I was watching it. I really enjoyed it, but I was so conflicted because I was just like, man, this tells a lot. It talks a lot about like what really goes on in this world. It was strange.
Yeah,
McKenna, what about you?
I loved it. I really liked, just like right off the bat, I loved that it was a documentary about someone who failed, because so often documentaries are either about like a problem in society or some like underdog or like something like great that has happened that not a lot of people know about. So I loved seeing a documentary about somebody who, by all rights, failed in this great attempt at greatness. So I liked that. And then because like I started watching the movie and I was like, all right, here we go. We're gonna learn about the underdog sailor who we don't know about because we don't live in England. And then, like, as the story kept going, I was like, oh my God, this guy was, I mean, when you really listen to everything that happened to that guy, like, if you list it off, right? Okay, so he gets to his launch point 2 weeks late. His boat isn't ready. His boat is leaking. He doesn't end up going around the world, and he starts lying about where he is. All of the people that were like, or he runs aground, like he literally, like, he has to stop, so he's already, like, technically disqualified himself. He comes up with this brilliant plan to just when everybody starts to lap him, to just rejoin them at the back and just be like the quiet loser and like just go home. All of the people ahead of him who were going to let him be the loser end up either deciding not to go to the finish line or just randomly drowned. Like, he got really like existential towards the end of his time. He was like thinking, like, he kept saying like, there is no good and evil, there is only truth, and I am like part of this cosmic being. And I kind of agreed with him at that point. I was like, dude, I see where you're coming from. Everything that went wrong for you, like, shouldn't have gone wrong. There shouldn't have been statistically that many things that could have happened to you. You fucked up, and God wanted you to know you fucked up because there was no going back. And then I kept asking myself, I was like, put in that situation, would I have made the same decision? And I guess kind of to Malik's point, the only thing that I could say that I probably would have done differently is probably after like the third or fourth, part of the Odyssey. It was time. I would have been like, yep, I'm done. I'll take the ridicule. I'll be that person, But it truly was, I felt like I was watching a Greek tragedy. Because it was just thing after thing, monster after monster, and what was the enemy? The enemy was hubris. It was literally pride, which is always the Greek tragic pitfall. And so I was like, wow, man, the Odyssey was real, and it happened to this poor guy in the 70s. So I really enjoyed, like, unfortunately, I really enjoyed the theatricality of the story, I guess, and the what would I do in the situation question that it rose. So that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, Joe, were you gonna say something about that?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. I mean, part of it was pride, but he was really put in a situation once he was out there that he really couldn't quit because of the financial impact it was going to have. If he doesn't finish the race, if he doesn't win, he's going to owe so much money that he's going to be out on the street anyway, with his family. So quitting was, once he's out there, quitting was an option because remember he tried to quit beforehand. He tried to quit, and they pretty much forced him to go. Telling him, threatening him, not really threatening him, but telling him, hey, you don't go, we already invested all this money in you.
And the media was like...
Yeah, and the media was like on top of him.
Yeah.
So at that point, he had no choice but to go. And then when he was out there, he couldn't quit. He had to go. And that's why he started cheating, lying, fixing the boat, and like he wanted to come in fourth, but he had the sailors had the misfortune, and he had the misfortune of the people ahead of him started sinking. So yeah, it was a tragedy. was a sad story. I was really, I was sad that it ended that way. Uh, but yeah, I wanted to see him at least survive. But you look at the guy who actually won, Robin Knox Johnston. I mean, at least he was kind enough to donate his money to the family.
Yeah, it kind of
he
worked
did.
out better
Yeah,
that he died.
yeah. I mean, he died, and they still got the money, due to that man's kindness. And yeah, it's just a crazy, sad story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was really. I mean, he kind of reminded me. He started to remind me, some of the audio clips that they had going. Some of the audio clips that they found, like kind of started to remind me of Jack Sparrow. And, like I started to, when he was singing the song, drunk as a circumnavigator could be, like he was just sitting there drinking. I was just kind of like, yeah, I kind of see where Jack Sparrow got this, where Johnny Depp came up with this character. It's from the madness of being on the sea, from the madness of being there, and like I said, like that amount of silence. I could just imagine now, like what like a prisoner in solitary confinement goes through, where you're literally sitting there, or for him on this boat, or in this situation, and you're sitting there like realizing and living with the reality of what you've done. You've placed your family in this financial bind. You've put yourself out on this water, where it's one man against like the vast ocean. I think that less than making him crazy, like this situation like made him hyper aware of his mistakes and just completely unable to deal with it. And so going home was just not an option for him anymore, because going home would have probably been worse than anything that could have happened to him out there on the sea. Everything that happened out there was like a trial and tribulation, to McKenna's point, of like the way he was, all the different challenges that he faced, kind of like the Odyssey, and then but if he goes home, like there's nothing to go home to. It's not like the Odyssey where Odysseus is going home and he's got his wife and I'm not sure if he had a child. I can't remember if he had a child or not. But he's got his wife and he's got his life over there that he can go to, and plus he's coming home a hero. When that other boat goes down, the boat that was in front of his goes down, and he realizes, he's gonna get there, and that log is gonna get read, and he's gonna be found out, and it's going to completely destroy him. What's he going home to? He's not going to go home to. He's probably going to go home to a loving wife and kids who will likely accept him regardless. But his life is over. He's ruined his life. He's ruined his entire existence. So, disappearing or just jumping into the ocean. I don't think I would have jumped into the ocean. That's from not going out that way. But disappearing and and putting himself, like, just taking himself out of the misery is probably saving not only himself but his family the humiliation of everything. But even though that information wound up coming out anyway, after they found the log. So, I don't know who won. Nobody wins in that situation, because even though his family got the money, they don't have, the kids don't have a father, the wife doesn't have a husband, and and you're forced to live with the reality of what happened too. So I guess £5,000 was worth it back then. It wouldn't have been worth it now. I know my wife would have been pissed.
I know, and she, like, his wife kind of, I mean, before the death and the lies and everything, she kind of took it on the chin. Like, she's like, I'm kind of worried, but, what are you gonna do, right? Your husband, like, decides to build a fucking boat and race around the world. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, she has a really interesting line where she just says people need to dream, and they need to live their dreams and stuff like that. Like something towards the end of the film that she said, where you get the idea that she didn't necessarily want him to go, and probably didn't even think that he would win or that he would do well at this. I guess she expected him to come home, but just didn't expect him to win. But at the very least, if he doesn't follow his dream, he's always going to live with the what if and, could I have done it and all of that stuff. And so maybe for her, she was able to accept it because of that. I don't know.
And I'm sure, like, to landlubbers like us and like him, like, 20 days out at sea, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, no one will talk to me. I won't have my cell phone, Fuck, like today I went to Coney Island and my phone died. And when on my way home, I wasn't feeling well, and I started freaking the fuck out. That like my cell phone. What will happen if I need to call somebody? No one has a phone here. They won't give me anything. Like it's interesting, like, and that was only 4 hours.
Right.
I feel like most of us.
And you were alone in the big city.
I was in the fucking city. I really could have gone to an MTA worker and been like, I need help. But like I think a lot of us think like the solitude of the sea, and because no, really, guys, like the first 2 or 3 hours of not having it, I'm like, this is glorious. I'm just eating funnel cake on the boardwalk and no one's bothering me, But like that solitude like comes with a price. At that point, like. You really have lost all communication with anybody. And he was a weekend sailor. Like, he didn't know that. It was too much for him.
297 days, I think, was the final count or something like that he was out there.
Yeah, so just under a year.
Just under a year by himself in the same ocean. That was the thing that kept getting me, right? Is I was like, these poor other guys are on these, like, these huge waves. They're like having this like daring adventure. The one guy liked it so much he decided to stay. And then you have what's his name on his weird ass 3-hull boat just kind of floating in the same sea, just like waiting to hang out with these guys until they pass them. I kept imagining that like they were just gonna like see him and be like, "Hey man, what you doing over here?" Like I was just like, all right, I don't know. I felt bad, but at the same time, I was like, you didn't go that far. Look at what this guy did.
You didn't go that far. I mean, that's the thing. If you're like, I guess if you're like actually sailing, it might not have been so bad because you're going somewhere.
And you're active.
Yeah.
He just kind of floated down to Brazil and then floated back up.
And there was that one random guy who saw him. Remember?
Yeah.
Like, just like, yeah, I saw him. He slept right there.
He looked like he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think they said when he ended, he was like 700 miles from shore.
He was only 700 miles. I mean, that was like nothing.
Yeah, he was relatively close.
Yeah, he was definitely going to win because the other guy took 312 days to complete it. The one and only guy who finished, took him 312 days.
And he was averaging like 98 miles a day. So he was only a week away from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, like, he just couldn't. I mean, really, how much was that money, really?
I mean,
really, all he had to do was spend an extra couple of days out there, and then he would have came in second, and this wouldn't have been a story.
That's a good point.
Or he just could have spent all of that fucking time not drinking and fixing logbooks.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking. I was like, you're like so genius. You built a boat. Just fix the logbooks.
Or just,
well, he kept 2 logs. He kept the real log, and he kept the fake log.
Throw the crazy one overboard. Don't throw yourself. Throw the crazy one overboard. Shave your face. Fix the book and go home.
I mean, damn it, throw all the logs overboard. Like, just show up. Yeah, just like, show up in England. Just show up in England, and everybody's like, where's the log? I don't know. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I got capsized, but my super duper boat flipped back over, but the logs fell out.
I just tell them straight up, you guys knew I wasn't a professional sailor. I ain't keep no goddamn logs. I kept logs for like the first week, okay? And that was it. All right?
I ate the pages for fiber.
Exactly. Like, I would have come up with some reason why I ain't got the papers. Like if that was the only thing that was going to tie to this stuff.
Yeah.
Shit. We had no worries about the logs would have not been found at all, ever. Out of like oh, those books, no. Sorry. It was too much weight on the boat. so I had to throw something overboard, and that it wound up being those books. I didn't know they were important. Like, you needed that for some reason? Like,
I don't know.
whatever, man. I made it back. Where's my money? Like,
He made it back. He should have made a T-shirt. They should have all had T-shirts when he sailed in. He made it back. Now what?
pay that man his money and move on with it. Yeah, great selection, Johanna. I really enjoyed it. And it was a really good movie. I can't wait for the next one. The next one that you select.
Oh, I thought you meant like the
Oh,
guy
the
who
sequel?
I
I'd love to get the sequel.
Bro,
I would
her
love it if
the
there was a
sequel.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, the sequel was a perfect storm.
Oh God, that means it was bad because that was a bad. I didn't like that movie.
I mean, to McKenna's point, I actually really like movies about failures, like Grizzly Man. So, and I guess because the other one I was gonna make you guys watch is Montage of Heck, which is about Kurt Cobain, and he's kind of a failure too.
Really?
No, you know what I mean.
I know, but
Or the guy from Joy Division. Anyway, I like movies about people who fail. So you might see more of this. More of this.
So morbid. I like it.
That's what I'm here for, guys.
Well,
That's what I'm here
speaking of movies that that probably did not need a remake or a sequel, Joe's film was the classic Asian foreign film Infernal Affairs. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about this movie, why you picked it, and why you love it so much.
all right. So the reason why I picked it is because I know everybody's seen The Departed, and when I talk to people about it, very rarely have they ever seen the movie that The Departed is really based off of or stolen from, which is Infernal Affairs. Because I always felt Infernal Affairs was the superior movie, even though I loved The Departed and it deserved the Best Picture that year, and I believe '06, whatever it was. But I always felt Infernal Affairs was better, and people always refused to watch it because I already seen The Departed. Why do I need to see Infernal Affairs? And it's because I believe it's inferior, and there are slight differences that really change the dynamic of the film. So that's pretty much the reason why I chose it. Again, Infernal Affairs, just like The Departed, is based on two young men who go through the police department. One is pulled out and is asked to go undercover to infiltrate the mafia, while the other cadet is what do you call it? was brought in by the mafia to be God, what's the word I'm looking for? To be a mole.
Yeah, mole
within the police department.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say that much clearer this time. The two cadets, one is convinced by the police department to infiltrate the mafia, while the mob grabs another cadet and forces him to be a mole. So pretty much the whole movie is a cat and mouse game between the two cadets who become men, because the movie passes pretty much through the years pretty quickly to where they're grown men, and they've been, from cadets, one becomes an inspector in the internal affairs department of the police force, and the other one rises up and is like the third-ranked mobster, behind the leader. So they both have prominent positions in their, when in the gang and in the police department. So now, now they're the best part is that they're looking for each other, because now each one, the police department and the mafia, both know they have a mole. So now they're trying to find out who each other is. So that's where the movie really takes off, and all the action and suspense begins. So.
Yeah. Yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Malik, what did you? I know you watched it. What did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, so I can honestly say, and Johanna actually made this point earlier before we started recording, and I didn't get a chance to comment on it, but um, I can honestly say I really, really did like this movie more than The Departed, and the real reason that I liked it more than The Departed was that there was no scene stealing in the film.
Thank you.
The film was kind of just allowed to be what it is, and there was nobody in there being like large. There was no larger than life character, and I think that the triad boss in this movie, you know, he and honestly, you know, you could have just dubbed him out, and I wouldn't even have known he existed. And it's completely different from obviously Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed, you know. And I think that the subtlety of the character and just it allowed you to really pay attention to these two young men and what they were doing with and what they were going through without having their scenes stolen by you know, a really, really amazing actor who's really taking this opportunity to kind of, you know, really step on the scene and show and blow out his acting chops, right? So I think that it was very interesting there. And even though I kind of have an idea as I'm watching it, you know, obviously it just definitely reminds me a lot of The Departed. So I have an idea as to where this story is going. It actually was more enjoyable watching it get there, um, because also the other part of it that I was kind of and forgive me, I haven't seen The Departed in a long time, even though I own it on DVD. Um, I wasn't sure if in The Departed, like everyone was so knowledgeable of the fact that there were moles in both sides so early on. It felt like in The Departed it took a little bit longer for both sides to kind of figure things out. Whereas in this, it was very, very clear after that very first meeting with the ties, I believe is what they called it. Like after the first like drug bust happens, that we both have a mole on our side, and we have to figure out who the hell it is. You know, so I did really, really like that because you know these cops and these criminals are not stupid. You know, they clearly they're successful in what they do because they're smart and because they know, you know, and they can kind of understand like somebody's getting the drop on us. We don't know who it is, but we're gonna figure this shit out, and and they figure it out early, and then it's all about trying to catch whomever on each side before, you know, shit really hits the fan. You know, and so I thought that that was really, really interesting, because it just made these characters appear to be very, very, you know, very smart, very calculating, and these men, these young guys were in over their head. Clearly, you know, they did not realize they were what they were really getting into. And I think the last thing I'll say is the cop that was in the triad. You could tell, like even when he has his scenes with the psychiatrist, he's very conflicted by what's going on and by what he's doing. He never really makes that turn. I think that there's Leonardo DiCaprio's character in The Departed, which is basically what this guy is similar to. There's a time when Leonardo DiCaprio's character, you're not even sure if Leonardo DiCaprio is still a good guy. You're not really certain about that because he does some things in there that kind of leads you to believe that he may have actually turned to the other side. But this guy, he's always been like he's just in a really, really messed up situation, and he's really, really in a bad spot here, and it really, really affects him that number one he's doing this, and number two what winds up happening to his mentor on the opposite side of this fight in this battle. So yeah, I was really, really intrigued by this film, and I plan on owning it very soon if I can find it online.
You can definitely find it. It's out on Blu-ray. I own it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
McKenna, what did you think? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it more than Departed?
I'll tell you what, Joe. I did not think I was gonna like this movie, and I ended up really enjoying it. I'm really glad that I knew that it was Departed before I watched it, because I think I would have had a much harder time understanding what was going on. So the fact that I knew the story and I knew that it was The Departed, I felt like I could enjoy it more. Malik, you pointed out one of the biggest things for me that I liked about this movie, but I have a weird way of saying it, but it's the same thing. I liked that in Infernal Affairs, they focused more on the moles themselves rather than the people who were like holding the strings to their puppets.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I like The Departed better because I like watching the people who are pulling the strings to the puppets, if that makes sense. So, like, I would watch Infernal Affairs because I want to watch the story of the two recruits. I would watch The Departed because I want to be scared out of my mind for Leonardo DiCaprio and for Matt Damon because Jack Nicholson is pulling those strings and is a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both have merit in that regard. I thought that there were quite a few times that I was watching it and I was a little confused, or I was like watching like almost the exact same scene in The Departed, and I'm like, I might as well just be watching this in English and watch The Departed, like you know what I mean, and not have to be looking at the subtitles and instead watching the actors. But like, I was really happy with like the fact that there were the scenes that I loved in The Departed transferred, like, or the scenes that I loved in The Departed, the original inspiration for the scenes, like for example, the scene where you're in the cinema.
Hey, McKenna, you sound far away.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
No.
No, hold on.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's better. That's better right there.
So weird. I didn't do anything.
There, you sound good.
Anyway, I liked that my favorite scenes, from The Departed, when watching the original, the inspiration for those scenes, like the scene when they're in the cinema and when they're like kind of chasing after each other, and like the scene where they have each other's cell phones and they're trying to get a hold of the other one via the cell phone. Those were my favorite scenes in The Departed, and watching them in the originals, I felt the same way about them. They were still my favorite scenes, which made me think that they were just well-written scenes transcending culture and language, which was awesome, which was really awesome to see. So, would I watch Infernal Affairs again? Absolutely, but not when I feel like watching The Departed.
So that brings us to Johanna. Johanna, how did you feel about it?
Let me start off with the fact that I fucking hate The Departed. I think, you know what it is? It's like there's great acting. I don't want to pretend like, oh, it's a total piece of shit and it's bad quality. No, it's Leonardo DiCaprio was fantastic. I've already talked about my love for Mark Wahlberg's character. Matt Damon was great. Vera Farmiga, whatever. Jack Nicholson is the problem in that film. Because Jack Nicholson, and I don't even think it's on purpose. I think that's just who he is and how he, like, interprets characters. But he's just larger than life, and there were all these fucking monologues, and I'm like, I do not give a shit about you. So in this movie, Michael Caine, the Chinese Michael Caine, is not really that involved, and like he's there, but it like Malik said, it's really about the relationship between the two cadets and how they're kind of handling this situation. I feel though like also like the characterization and the progression of both of the characters is so much more beautiful than in The Departed, especially the police mole, the guy who's in the police. Just as he's kind of dealing with these loyalty issues and how like he's super fucking conflicted about about being a cop, about being involved in this dirty business. I found him to be the most, in terms of like dynamism, I thought his character was the most interesting. Now the other guy, I think he's played by Tony Leung, and he's very cute, but beyond being cute, he's just like good at being tortured, like the whole time. Like he's just got this weight on him, and that's really good. That's what Leonardo DiCaprio did. I thought it was great. Just because it really does focus on those two characters, their relationships with their girlfriends or with the other women, and something I really like, because it's playing on the background again over, is the camaraderie between like this group of cops like who are helping him, which is not really in The Departed. Like there's Mark Wahlberg and a couple other people, but this is like there's a whole team behind this guy. And that also adds to the conflict. So that I loved it so much better than The Departed. In conclusion.
So I'll say The Departed was like almost an hour longer than Infernal Affairs, and I just can't figure. I mean, I know why, because there's all these extra monologues and stuff like that. It's just that's why I think the Infernal Affairs was faster paced. It kept you engaged the whole time, at an hour and 40 minutes. Where I think The Departed, as great as it was, kind of had lulls and kind of, gave you opportunities to walk away for a few minutes and then come back. The other huge difference between the two is the end. That was the major difference between The Departed and Infernal Affairs. There's like a huge noise, like a movement.
Is it like a fan? McKenna's muted, so.
Yeah, it's one of you. Just like something's moving around. I mean, like I don't hear it right this second.
You hear it right now?
Yeah.
All right, maybe it's me because it's a fan. Do you hear it now?
No.
Okay. All right, it's the fan then when I turn towards the fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying, yeah, so like the huge difference between those two films, Departed and Infernal Affairs, is the end. And I wanted to get your, we'll start with McKenna. You still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
How did you feel about the end of Infernal Affairs as opposed to the end of The Departed?
Okay, I liked the ending of The Departed better, and let me tell you why. I sound so macabre this episode. I just really liked that everyone died. It was very Hamlet to me. Like, very Shakespeare. Like, it wasn't even necessarily about, like, oh, they had it coming, like, he did evil too. Like, no. I like that everyone died. I think that it was a good story, and that at the end of a good story, like, nobody important should be living. And that's that's just, I feel like the whole story lives on in infamy because everybody died. And, like, the thing about it, too, is, like, especially with The Departed, you think he's done it. He thinks he's done it. He thinks that he's gotten away with his new life. And literally in the last, like, 30 seconds of the film, he is shot, and you don't see it coming. So for me, it was, like, a good, fun twist that I was like, yes, yeah, ah. But, like, I get why someone gets the prize. Like, he outlived them. He outsmarted them. Like, he gets to continue on with this life. But the thing about Infernal Affairs that bothers me is that I didn't think he was the smartest one. I thought that the Leonardo DiCaprio character, the one with the mustache, he was the smartest one, and he, of anybody, deserved to keep going and to keep living. And so it bugs me that, like, it's either he gets to live or nobody gets to live in my book. So that's why I like The Departed better.
Yeah. Andy Lau's character, which is the Matt Damon equivalent. Yeah, he took advantage of the situation. He didn't know that the other guy, just like in The Departed, he didn't know that other guy was in the mafia as well. He didn't know he was working for him.
Yeah,
and once he shoots Tony Leung's character, He's like, and he already stated earlier in the movie that he wanted to turn a new leaf, that he was tired of doing what he was doing. He wanted to be the good guy. And so he shoots the other gang member or the cop that's a gang member, and then makes it look like that guy shoots which he did shoot Tony Leung's character, and then in self defense he shoots the other guy, you know, and
Oh,
he
man.
goes and he goes on living. Malik, what did you think about it?
So, I mean, I preferred the ending in Infernal Affairs over the ending in The Departed. But for a couple of reasons. The first reason, the reason why I did like the ending in The Departed is kind of to McKenna's point about like, it's a very Shakespearean. Everybody dies, nobody makes it out of the situation. Everybody's got blood on their hands, so none of them should actually, come out of here. But also because um, the Mark Wahlberg character in The Departed is such an integral character in that film because he's the one person throughout the entire film that looks at the Matt Damon character and says, I don't fucking like you. And there's something wrong with you. And I can't put my finger on it, but there's something really, really wrong with you. And I think you're not who you say you are. So at the end of The Departed, it's obviously, Matt Damon thinks that he's not just made it out and he's smarter than everybody else, but that he's pulled the wool over everybody's eyes, and he's going to be able to walk off into the sunset, and he's going to be able to live his life, and it's it's that real opportunity for the Mark Wahlberg character to be like, no, you don't get to be the cowboy that gets that goes off at the end. No, you die because you're just as bad as everybody else here. And I figured it out, and I know who you are, and so it's over. So I really do like the ending of The Departed. I like this ending more because I kind of do enjoy a redemption arc, and there's an opportunity for, although in the Departed, I don't think that the Matt Damon character really has the same level of empathy for the situation as the character in Infernal Affairs does. So when he gets away, you kind of feel a little. It feels a little empty. Whereas when this character gets away, it actually feels like you feel okay for him, because you get to see his life with his girlfriend, and he's like just starting this life that he's getting ready to move in with. He's moved in with her, and they're starting this new existence, and he just got this promotion, and so there's a part of him that's kind of like, he was thrust into obviously this lifestyle that that he said that was selected for him when he was so young, and even the older gangster himself says at a point, right before he's getting ready to shoot the gangster, he recalls when the gangster says to him, or says to the entire group of guys, standing up, that at some point in time they're going to have to make a choice for themselves. They're going to choose their own path, and so he makes that choice. He chooses his path, and he shoots the gangster, and then so all he has to do is something really, really, really heinous and really horrible, and that's kill kill the cop, and then kill the other cop who pretty much shoots who shoots the undercover guy. It was for him, it was like he was able to get that weight off, the weight of the lies that he was telling, because even he you could tell even he was a little conflicted by telling all of the lies, and sending all this information across when he's on the phone with the gangsters and he's doing all this stuff. Like, there's a part of, to me, it feels like there's a part of him that like is doing this because he feels like it's an obligation, not necessarily that he wants to. That he kind of wishes that he could just get this guy and be done with this whole gangster connection so that he could really be a cop. I did really feel bad for the Leonardo DiCaprio-esque character. I cannot remember his name in the film when the chief dies, because clearly you could tell that was his mentor, and that was his that was like his Yoda, and so when he dies, I kind of felt like a piece of that guy dies with him, And so for his character to die at the end, was telling, and was pretty good. I needed him to still die, right? Because there was nowhere for him to go, but there was somewhere for this guy to go, and there was a redemption arc. And I realized that you know it showed me that in American cinema, the bad guy can't win, right? The bad guy, whoever's perceived as being the bad guy, he can't win. So I did find it very interesting that Scorsese, was it Scorsese who does The Departed?
Yep.
Yeah, that he directs it to that point that the bad guy does not get an opportunity to walk away. The bad guy does not get to win, and the bad guy does not get to redeem himself. He is a bad guy, and so therefore he dies. And it's very black and white. Whereas sometimes you make bad choices, you make bad decisions in your life, but you're able to walk away and figure it out. Figure out the rest of your existence. So I did like I'd say I do like the Infernal Affairs ending better.
Yeah, and if you guys like that, there's another movie you could check out. It's similar, but with I would say a lot more action. Chapeau La, or SPL, or the English name Killzone. Is very similar, but with more hand-to-hand combat, more action scenes. This was more drama. SPL is more drama action.
Okay.
I think, if you like that, you might. If you guys really like the Infernal Affairs, you might enjoy that.
Now I know, Johanna, you didn't get to see the full-on ending of.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
What was your take on the ending and how it related to the Departed?
I loved it so hard. Sometimes I wonder if Americans are capable of doing what that ending did. Because it's very much like you killed the good guy and then the bad guy does get away, but he does more bad guy shit. And but then he tries to redeem himself, and we don't really see that redemption happen, but it's obvious that it's going to happen, and he tries to do right by Tony Leung's character. I don't know. I thought it was great. I mean, they killed Mark Wahlberg at the end of The Departed, so I was not there for that life. That was a big thing. But, yeah, goodness, the whole movie is just, it's playing in the background again. It's like on a loop because I'd been watching it earlier. Like, it's still fucking great. I fucking love this movie. I'm sorry. I know that's like not very constructive, but yes.
No, that's good.
Did you mean to say somebody else when you said they killed Mark Wahlberg at the end of the movie?
Didn't they kill Mark Wahlberg?
No,
he
killed Matt Damon.
He kills Matt Damon at the end, and
he doesn't die?
No.
You know what, you guys, like, I hated that movie so much, and it was so fucking long.
The thing is in Infernal Affairs, Mark Wahlberg character dies like in the first 5 minutes of Infernal Affairs, so he would never be around to avenge the undercover cop's murder.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely the tone of the film changes just by that one character not being around. The Mark Wahlberg-esque character not being in the Infernal Affairs film definitely changes the tone of the film, and again allows for the relationship and the development of these two moles to really build, because there's nobody like looking at them and explicitly saying like, you are the one that's the bad guy. So it's all about like them figuring out who each other are, and I thought that was really good too. But yeah, it definitely changes the film dramatically that the Mark Wahlberg character isn't in it. So that leaves my film as the final film of our review today. So just a quick overview. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Spacey. Ever since I think the first film I ever saw him in was Seven. I know he'd done a whole bunch of stuff even before that, but the first film I saw him in was Seven, and then I went back and watched him in a whole bunch of other things, and I really have always enjoyed his acting and his acting style, and just kind of the way he constructs his characters has been very, very interesting. So I wanted to try to pick a movie that Kevin Spacey was in that, maybe you guys hadn't seen. And so I looked out because a movie that he is in that you guys didn't see was also a movie that I truly, truly enjoy. And that's a movie called The Life of David Gale. So the movie itself is I don't know how to explain this film. It's basically it's a film that speaks directly to the treatment of prisoners and the treatment of the death penalty in this country. So just a quick overview. David Gale he's a former college professor who was on death row for raping and murdering another professor. And Kate Winslet is in the film, and she's a reporter sent out to basically get his story. So one thing that we know is David Gale, Kevin Spacey's character, is a huge proponent of the death penalty. So it's just really ironic that he's actually in the death penalty, that he's actually received the death penalty, being that he was such an opponent of it. So the film itself, to me, just really does a lot of work with, like I said, talking about the death penalty, but then it also gives you a nice twist ending at the end that kind of leaves that I know for when I saw it the first time, it leaves everybody kind of questioning, what the hell am I seeing? Like, what the hell's going on? And like, does this stuff really happen? And it actually prompted me to start looking at and reading about like the Innocence Project and a lot of the wrongfully accused or wrongfully convicted men and women who have been put in prison and put to death with really, really shady cases. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. I think we'll start with McKenna. What did you think of the movie, and what were your thoughts coming out of it?
So first, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. So first of all, I can't believe I didn't know this movie existed because it's got some of my favorite actors in it. I love Kevin Spacey, love Kate Winslet, love Melissa McCarthy, who just happened to
That was crazy.
Yep. I didn't mention that specifically. I specifically did not mention Melissa McCarthy being in it.
Funny.
I did a double take.
I did too. I was like, I was home alone watching it, and I said out loud, I was like, that's not Melissa McCarthy. I also, just as a side note, I just finished watching through every season of Gilmore Girls. So to watch Melissa McCarthy as like the baker at the inn who's like, plump and cheery, to watching her be like the scary goth death princess, keeper of the house, of the murder house in this, I was losing my shit. I loved it. So I can't believe I didn't know this movie existed. I'm really glad I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for a lot of the political jargon that they were using and the points that they were very, the characters are very loud, but the actual points and facts that they were kind of throwing in there were very subtle. So by the end of the movie, you went, wow, I learned a lot about the death penalty and didn't even realize I was learning about it. I loved that it was just like an old school mystery. You felt like you were trying, I was an active participant in trying to piece together the missing pieces of the puzzle with Kate Winslet's character, and I love things like that. It actually reminded me a lot of Brick, that movie, the movie, Malik, that we had been talking about earlier too. Mm-hmm. You're trying to find the pieces and put them all together and make them all fit. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was the ending. Mm-hmm. I hated the end of the movie, and let me explain. I hated the last 2 minutes of the movie. I loved where I thought they were leaving you, and then they added that last little bit, and I was like, no, I didn't.
Oh, I like that.
I didn't want Kate Winslet to get her key. It bugged me. It bugged me that he let her sleep at night. I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted her to have lost. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. It just, I kind of, you know what it was? I felt like I was like, oh, and they gave me the end with a big bow on top. You know, they wouldn't let me just kind of be like, oh, that's so shitty for you. I feel you. Oh, I was like, oh, and there you go. There was our Hollywood moment. You know, that's just kind of, I don't know. It was a little too twinkle starlight for me at the end. But everything up until that point, I was on board with. The only other thing that kind of bugged me was I was like, I don't know. I thought that they were a little too chillax for about 2/3 of the movie about the creepy cowboy following them.
I know!
Following me for, you know, a good portion of the time that I am interviewing this serial killer. I'd be a little bit more concerned than they were, and I was like, oh, well, I guess this cowboy's gonna be important. Like, how many times have they said that this cowboy's following us?
Chekhov's cowboy.
So those were like the only problems I had with the movie, but overall, like by comparison, I very, very much enjoyed it. I thought that, oh God, the scene with, oh my God, the scene where Kevin Spacey is drunk and he's walking down the street just talking to the beer drinkers and the party goers about Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. I loved it. I thought it was one of the best drunk acting scenes I've ever seen and acting drunk is so difficult and so often done awfully that I thought it was a great drunken scene. I thought that the writing of that scene, like the actual the points he was trying to make were amazing. Yeah, I very much enjoyed it with the couple of problems that I found with it.
That's good. I mean, I think that the ending. I think for me the ending happens the way that it ended, like those last 2 minutes, showing basically giving Kate Winslet the eye into the situation, allows it to happen because if I'm trying to forecast from the end of the film, like it allows for her to take this story and really, go at the government and go at the state legislation, to really like highlight that they killed an innocent man.
See, but I disagree because I think what it did was gives the government, right, say she does that, I think it gives the government now all of this ammunition to be like, oh, he was in on it, he committed suicide. It's like suicide by cop.
Right.
It could be, oh, he committed suicide by lethal injection to prove a point. Whereas if he was actually removed from the situation, what they were trying to prove is that a truly innocent man was put to death would have been accurate.
Yeah, I think it could have, right. Yeah, no, I definitely, I agree. It could have probably gone, they could have done it just without having that information, They could have done it as well. She could have fought Congress or fought the man without doing it. But yeah, I absolutely but I'm glad that you took that from me because I didn't have the same feelings, but now that you mention it, it's definitely Hollywood putting a bow on it for Kate. Not necessarily. I don't know if it was for us, but it was definitely for Kate.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Johanna, what were your feelings about the movie?
It was fucked up. It would have been too fucked up even for me. Actually, that like the videotape of that death was extremely disturbing, and they kind of just let it keep going and rolling just so Kate Winslet could cry. Oh, she cries so much in this film. Everything is her sobbing uncontrollably. And I understand that it's a sobby sort of situation, but it just keeps going. It was like 3 minutes of crying, you guys. And like dramatic music. Her name, Bitsy, I don't understand what the fuck that was about. Bitsy.
She's a superhero. I say this, I'm sorry, not to totally hijack, but I just want to point out, I say that it is like a typical Hollywood tool that when you want to have a heroine or a hero in a regular movie, you just have to give them a name that is a, what's that called when you have two consonants? An alliteration. You just need to give them a name that's an alliteration, and we subconsciously put them synonymous with like Clark Kent, Peter Parker, Jean Grey, Bitsy Bloom. I was like, hero, love it. I got my heroine.
Although, and the dude, the dude that was with her was like the worst actor.
The completely unnecessary man.
Yeah, completely. I didn't even have sex. Like, what was he good for? He wasn't even good to be a penis. He was just floating around there doing God knows what. He was supposed to
the towel on the floor. That was the key. That
was carrying the TV.
She lost her fucking shit about the fucking towel and made you think that she thought that somebody had been in the room. No, she's just being naggy. I mean, like, I'm not telling any lies. This is real talk. Kevin Spacey, though. I mean, Kevin Spacey was... The thing is, it's like the real actors in this, and unfortunately, like, Kate Winslet got stuck with a really, like, ridiculous character. But, I mean, Kevin Spacey, Laura Linney, I mean, that was always going to be a winning combination there.
God, Laura Linney was so good in this.
Wasn't she great?
The scene where they were having sex, I was like, oh my God, she was so good. She was so good.
She really was.
It was
it was everything that scene needed to be.
Exactly.
Exactly. Now the death penalty stuff, see, it's interesting because in my household there is a constant, very low simmering debate about the death penalty. I am still kind of for it, and Sean, my husband, is like rabidly against it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the more that I like read and the more that I see, it's like it kind of like makes sense to abolish it, you guys. Like, we're watching this document. Oh, maybe I'll make you guys watch that documentary. It's about Eileen Wuornos, who's a have you guys seen the movie Monster?
I know Eileen. Yep.
So Eileen killed she was a prostitute and she killed a bunch of guys and she was on death row. So they were taping her in her last days before she, was going to get the lethal injection. And it's like, you are straight crazy, ma'am.
Was that on Netflix?
Yes. The Selling of a Killer.
Documentary, yeah. It's really good.
It's really good. And she's insane. Not in like a, I ate brains and I'm conscious of it kind of way, but like she's really like off her rocker to the point where you really wonder if she should be on death row. And she's not the only case, and then it's a lot of money. Like this whole thing with Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the Boston bomber, it's like, yeah, you're putting him to death, quote unquote, but it's going to be years and years and years and years of appeals, and that costs the government so much money, which I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. But yeah, like a lot of the stuff about the death penalty was really interesting. The whole rape thing at the beginning, I wish that they'd done something else with it, because there really wasn't much. It was just kind of like, and then he raped her. And yes, his life fell to shit after that, but the rape just didn't come up again until the end. I found it extremely enjoyable, even though I'm bitching about it. Everything together, and I'll disagree with McKenna only in the fact that, not so much that like he's helping her sleep at night, but just like how just fucking disturbing it was. After everything you've seen, and he wasn't involved, and they set him up and blah blah blah, and he didn't know. and then you find out he knew the entire time, which is classic Kevin Spacey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like Death Penalty Kaiser Soze.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, it was very, very, very enjoyable. It gave me a lot of food for thought, honestly. I think I'm slowly coming over to the anti-death penalty side. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people about the death penalty and people that have been proponents of it. I have, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a opponent or a proponent for it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think that each case needs to be reviewed independently, and you have to look at the merits of each case and see if that case should warrant it or not. And you have to be really, really, really careful with whether or not you're going to do it. And so that may mean that it's not worth it because of the amount of money and the amount of time that's going to be devoted towards it. But I say that to say, I usually tell people to watch this movie. If they've never seen it, I tell people to watch this movie, and it may help you form a different perspective. If your perspective is that you absolutely are gung-ho about the death penalty, and you don't care about anything else, and like you won't read a book about like how much this happens in real life, maybe a Hollywood film will like get you to open to just to open your mind a little bit to why there are so many people that are such opponents to it. And even if you are an opponent of it, you can see where from the law side, it's kind of hard. It kind of makes things a little easier for them if they can put this person to death. It kind of like to McKenna's point, it kind of wraps everything up in a bow. It takes the entire situation and wraps it up in a bow and makes it seem a little easier. So I try to like get people to watch this movie to kind of see where they stand on it whenever these discussions come up. But Joe, what was your take?
As far as the ending is concerned, McKenna, I do disagree with you there. I don't see it as a tight bow. I see it as Kevin David Gale invites Bitsy, asks her by name to come and interview him. She didn't ask for this, and then he puts her through that torture of possibly giving her hope that she was going to be the one to free him, when he knew all along that, we only find that out at the end because of the video, but he knew all along that this was all a ploy, and that if he did save her, it would prove that the system worked. And there was no way he could allow that to happen if he wanted to get the point across and be the martyr that he hoped he would be. So he pretty much set her up for failure. So I didn't really have an issue with her getting her freedom, as he wrote it in the end, her getting her freedom, and seeing the video and watching him put his fingerprints on the bag. I really didn't have an issue with that. What I find funny, though, McKenna, is that it's pretty much what The Departed did, wrapped everything in a nice bow for you, and you didn't have a problem with that.
I'll tell you what, I said it harkened back to like an Elizabethan like epicness that I thought that wasn't appropriate for this movie.
Okay, but let's get back to David Gale.
The unnecessary dickless guy, if he had died and Melissa McCarthy had died and then Kate Winslet
Melissa McCarthy, none of those people did anything. Melissa McCarthy wasn't guilty of anything. She's guilty of being crazy, but she didn't do anything. She living in a house where someone murdered and keeping everything the way it was. Yeah.
No. See, I'm feeling this new McKenna, and I think we should encourage this behavior.
Huh?
We should encourage this behavior, this new macabre side of McKenna who wants everyone to die in a Shakespearean fashion. I am here for this.
I know you are. But the movie, I really enjoyed it. I love a good mystery movie, and Kevin Spacey's good at anything. He's he's great at starring in these type of movies. You know, between Seven, this movie, and The Usual Suspects, uh, and some of the other courtroom drama. I forgot the name of that movie. Was it Midnight in the Garden of Good? I can't remember. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Again, like you, Malik, I'm neither here nor there as far as like the death penalty is concerned. So I really didn't take that into consideration. I was just sitting back and enjoying the mystery and trying to figure out who killed Laura Linney's character. That was my main goal when I'm watching. I'm like, who the hell did that, and and why. And when things started coming together, you could see that he definitely was involved at some point. It really wasn't confirmed until the end, and yeah, I enjoyed it. The kid that was with her, with Kate Winslet. Yeah, that's the guy that was in Revenge. I don't know if you guys ever watched Revenge, the TV show.
No,
but
I've never seen it. Yep.
yeah, he was in that. I was like, damn, that guy looks familiar. I mean, granted, this movie's from what, 2003?
Yeah, 03.
Yeah, I'm like, God, that's him. He's just much younger, but that's him. Yeah, it was a great film. Again, I'm kind of I wonder how this passed me by, but I'm glad you brought it to my attention because I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny because actually, Johanna, you you made a mention about Kate Winslet and her character like sitting there watching the video and crying and like crying uncontrollably. I actually like literally I watched this movie again before we started recording this episode, and I literally was like, that would be Johanna. Like, if Johanna was Bitsy Bloom and she got the tape, I think Johanna would go gung ho for this tape. Like, she would like want to find this goddamn tape, what's on it, and let's watch it. And she would sit there and she would watch it and she would cry for like a week and a half, right? She like, that's what I literally thought of. So like when you said like that that guy that actually was like really, really out there for you, I was like, really? Because I thought that'd be you. I was like,
I mean, I think you know what it is? It's out there for others. Just like with anything else.
It's like watching
obviously
messed up, but like
obviously if I watched a video of a woman being like killed or dying that way, I would cry for some. I mean, I cried at the pet store, okay, when my cat got dewormed. Like, come on.
But I think there's some kind of joy. Did you feel any joy? Did you rewind that scene a couple of times and watch it over?
No. No, I can't do suffocation, you guys. That freaks me the fuck out.
Oh, so if she was getting shot, would you rewind it? I mean, I mean, it's no secret, I was obsessed with death.
I don't like watching death scenes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's not true. I can't lie like that. But
she's waiting for the apocalypse to come. So
then I'll be able to see lots of people get shot and hanged and quartered and all sorts of fun stuff. McKenna, hanged and quartered.
I'll be with you.
Yep.
There now, front row.
right in the middle of Times Square, huh?
Malik, also, I don't know if you said that when you mention this to people when you're talking about the death penalty. Also, there is a really wonderful play that you guys might all, if you ever get the chance, just pick up and read one time, called Exonerated. And it's, God, I think it's about 5 or 6 actual people who were on death row, who were interviewed after being exonerated, and the play takes you through each of their stories of when they were accused, what happened at their trial, what it was like in prison, and then what it was like being told that they were exonerated because of new evidence. So it's a really great play. It really makes you think. And if you ever see that like somewhere like off Broadway or something is reviving it, you guys should really go because it's pretty incredible.
Now, I did see a film called The Exonerated, which came out in 2005. It was a television movie And it was starring, if I'm not mistaken, like it was Brian Dennehy, Danny Glover, Aidan Quinn, Susan Sarandon's in it. I'm not sure if it's the same.
Be it actually, because I feel like they actually did a staged production of it or something like that, because I remember Susan Sarandon being connected with that project.
Okay. So,
Don't remember in what capacity, so it might have just been the movie, but yes, I believe that is the same.
okay, I did see the movie, The Exonerated. I did see the movie. It was a long time ago. I saw it, and I would suggest people see that again. See that film. It was actually that I thought that was really good as well. Um, but yeah, definitely. This is. I like to have films like this kind of in my back pocket, so I can bring it out whenever I realize that people haven't seen it, so they can sit back and watch it. It's kind of like what my wife does with me with that movie, The Skeleton Key. If you guys have never seen The Skeleton Key, you should catch that.
Isn't that with Kate Hudson?
Yeah, with Kate Hudson. Yeah.
Pass.
It's dude. Look, I'm telling you now. I'm probably going to be picking. If you guys have never seen that, I don't know if you've seen it, McKenna. If you guys haven't seen it, I will be picking that as my next film.
You're gonna make me watch Kate Hudson in a horror movie.
I will make you watch it. It's not really a horror movie, but I will make you watch it at some point in time. All right, so that's it. Thanks so much, guys. This was a lot of fun. I was really, really glad that you guys. I think everybody kind of stepped into their own realm and showed me a lot about the type of films that they enjoy and the type of films that they watch. And so I got to learn a lot about you guys, as well as learning a lot about these films. So before we cut out, I just wanted to say McKenna's films, Alma and was it the Fallen Art? Fallen Art is available on YouTube. You can catch that on YouTube just by searching for Fallen Art. And Alma was on Vimeo. Was it Vimeo?
Yeah, you can find it on Vimeo, and I think you can also find it on YouTube, but you might want to triple check which one you're watching, because there are a couple of unofficial ones.
So what we'll do is I will post the Vimeo link in the post on our Facebook page, as well as on our Twitter feed, so that people can go directly to the Vimeo link and watch those shorts. I definitely, if you have a couple of minutes, definitely sit down and watch them, because even though we spoiled the shit out of it, it's still just the visual of it is more than enough. You can find Deepwater. Yeah, see, Johanna's messing me up too. Deepwater. You can find Deepwater on YouTube as well. The full documentary is available there. We will be posting links for that. Is there anywhere specific, Joe, where people can find Infernal Affairs? Is it on Netflix, or you just have to buy it at your local DVD store?
It might be on Netflix. I'm not sure, but this is one you should own. Just go to Netflix and get it on Blu-ray.
Yeah. Go to Netflix, get it on Blu-ray, get it on DVD, burn it, see what you can do, or go to your look. And Infernal Affairs is probably available for relatively cheap at your local DVD spot, and the same with David Gale. Although I do know I did check it out on Netflix to see if it was available on Netflix. It's not available for streaming, but it is available for rental if you still get the DVD sent to your home. So I would suggest going and catching all 5 of these films, and just sitting back and enjoying it. Sometimes it's not the Hollywood blockbuster movies that gets released during the summer months that are the ones that stick with you. Sometimes it's a 5-minute short about a little kid in a toy factory, or a movie about or a movie that kind of leads you to understand the depths of the male psyche, or something about the death penalty that really sits with you and helps you kind of shape your thoughts about about life in general. So that's it for today. Again, thank you guys for letting me letting me in your heads a little bit and see the kind of movies that you enjoy. I hope that you guys had a good time today, and check us out. We're on Facebook, Twitter, on all the social media sites. Very, very soon we'll be releasing some more episodes. I know it's been a few weeks since we've released some stuff, so I know we're a little bit back. backlogged, but we have some stuff coming out for you very, very soon. And so for McKenna, Johanna, and Joe, I am Malik. We are the Agents of Helm. Have a great night and enjoy your week. Peace out.